I'm going to take one word from our reading in the Gospel today and talk about it for a little bit. And that word is peace. And I'm sure all of us are very aware that during communion we do something that's called sharing the peace. And I just thought I'd think a little bit about what is peace all about. I have here a bunch of leaves. They're twigs. Yesterday we were doing some work in my garden and we had to cut back. It's always sad when you have to cut back lovely trees because they're all growing into each other, and it's not healthy for the trees to be growing into each other as much as mine were. So we had to cut back, and these are some of the cuttings from one of my trees. Now I wonder if anybody would like to guess what kind of tree this is. The branches are thicker, but these are the twigs. It's like bay, but it's slightly narrow leaves. It's not actually... It's the colour of eucalyptus. That's a good... And the eucalyptus leaves, however, are much longer. And olive. Who said olive? Yes, Chris. Olive. I can't believe that I have got five olive trees growing in my garden. 4 of them are in pots. They're quite small, but one of them has got really big and is growing everywhere. So very sadly, we had to chop off a branch of it, which I'm going to keep for next year and burn and enjoy the smell of the wood. So why am I holding a bunch of olive twigs with leaves while I'm talking about peace? Any thoughts about that? What have... Olive branch. Can you say a bit more? An olive branch is a sign of peace. And we often say, a lot of adults might say this, I want to offer an olive branch. Have you got an olive branch you can offer me? Means about peace. And that's because in the times of the Greeks, over 2,000 years ago, trees often had meanings. Like rosemary, the tree, the bush rosemary, means remembrance. Olive means peace. Palm trees mean freedom. Now, there's a story in the Bible about an olive branch. Anybody think what that story? Noah. And when Noah had his extraordinary experience of building that boat in order to save his family's lives and samples from every species of animal, because there was going to be a flood that God was sending in order to wipe out all the sin in the world, the people who were sinning. When the rain stopped and then the floods began to drain away into the soil and the water was going down, he needed to find out whether or not there was any land anywhere. So he sent out 3 birds. Do you know? 2 species of birds, 2 breeds of birds. What birds were they? Do you know? A raven and a dove. And they went out. The ravens kind of flapped around, not doing much, but the dove went off exploring, and they all came back. So he thought, well, no sign from the birds as to whether or not there's any land. And the dove went off again, and the dove came back with something in its beak. Yes, it wouldn't really matter what it was, would it? But it proved that there was now accessibility to trees, because the bird had found a tree, and birds can sit in trees. So Noah knew the land was appearing at least at the tops of the trees were. And the dove went again, and did the dove come back the next time? No, the dove had found somewhere safe. And for that reason, the dove has also become a symbol of peace. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Peace. To do with what? Well, the flood was the sign of God's punishment. We're going to be brutal about the facts. And then the land appearing would have been a sign of that punishment has come to an end, and it's reconciliation. And that is one way of understanding peace, that it's about bringing together 2 people who previously were set apart from each other, for all sorts of different reasons. But when they come back together willingly and wishing to forgive each other, we call that reconciliation. And the sign of the land meant that the punishment was coming to an end, and that God was being reconciled, was coming to be at peace with the people so they could live on the land again. So the olive branch has a big meaning for us in terms of God wanting to live peaceably with us. Now, I've got something else here to show you, which is to do with what we do during the peace. Now, you've seen this before. This is my trusty sword, which I only bring to church. This is my church sword, partly because I can't really do much damage with it. I have to hide it from Buster the puppy because he's eating everything at the moment. So fortunately, it's in one piece. This is my sword. Now, I am right-handed. That means I'm right to do most things with my right hand. Therefore, I hold my sword in my right hand. If I'm doing this with my sword, what's that really telling you about how I'm feeling about people or a situation that I'm in? I kind of want to do something to somebody. Yes. Or at least deter them from doing something or prevent them from doing anything. It's not a particularly friendly action, is it? No. I do like the idea of on guard, and then maybe I should do fencing. So if I wanted to be at peace with you, Leslie, I probably shouldn't be doing this, should I, to you? If I wanted to be at peace, I should probably put it down and use my right hand for something else. I might want to do this. And that's how the handshake grew up. A sign that I am not going to come at you with my sword. I'm coming to you in peace. So I show you my right hand. In theory, obviously, most of us could use our left hand if we were in imminent danger and we picked up a sword at that point. But the point is that I'm not using my sword to greet you. I'm using my hand. And we have in our different countries around the world other signs of peace. Would anybody here like to share another sign of peace that you might know besides shaking hands? Perhaps there aren't other signs of peace, but... Sorry? Rubbing of noses, yes. Yes. I don't mind if you don't show me that one right now. But the rubbing of noses. I'd forgotten that one. I remember Prince Charles having to rub noses. I forget which country it was now. That's it, yes. Then they had to rub noses. It's quite cute. Makes you smile, doesn't it? Rubbing of noses. We could try that in the peace today, couldn't we? No, we're not going to. Don't worry, Rams. For us, it's too intimate, isn't it? We like a handshake out here somewhere, some of us. Hugging, yes. Hugging is another one. It's not necessarily reputed as a sign of peace, but obviously if you are hugging somebody, you could possibly do a bear hug and strangle the breath out of them, but we're hoping you're not. It's actually a sign that your arms are free to embrace rather than to fight. No, you're quite right. Any others? Yes. Yes, you can do this. You can put your hands together and you can bow to show that you are lowering yourself in front of somebody. Your hands are not there to be aggressive. I'm not sure that we've learnt to see that this kind of action with your hands means prayers, but that wasn't always the case. I'm not sure it's really related to a sign of praying, but I think it is a sign of your hands are not being aggressive. Anything? Three signs? Yes, Isabella. Kneeling down.
In the presence of someone, especially elders.
Yes, or curtsying. So that's the easier one for someone like it would be easier for me to curtsy, bow, but also to kneel down.
Yes, in African families.
They will kneel down. I certainly know when I did some work with a Maasai group of people, the elder men in the families, when the younger women or the younger men went by, he would touch their. Can I touch your head? He would he'd be sitting, you'd be standing, but he'd just do this. And then you'd walk by. And he did that to me, and I really felt it made me feel like I was welcome and belonged in the family. So that's a very deep peace, isn't it? This can be just, hello, how are you? Or it could be, I'm so pleased to see you. It's been so long. Slap you on the back, give you a hug. But this blessing on the head went much deeper. It was extraordinary. And it made me realize that peace isn't just about making things right with each other on a superficial level. It goes much deeper. And so the word for peace, some of us may know this, in Hebrew, tells us that. Who knows what the Hebrew word for peace is? Shalom. Shall we all say it together? Shalom. And on a Friday, which is the beginning of the Sabbath, you would say to everybody as Sabbath came in on a Friday, and you'd say, Shalom, Shalom, or Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. And that was an indication that the day of rest, which is officially most of Saturday, Friday night to Saturday night, is a day of peace. And that kind of peace, that the blessing of the head, is about wholeness and healing. It's about making sure everything that's gone wrong has got a time for it to be put right as you come into God's presence and receive his healing. So when Jesus came and stood amongst his disciples and they didn't recognize him, and he said, "Peace be with you," it was extraordinary. I'm not sure he shook their hands. I'm not sure he did any kind of particular action. We like to think of him as putting his arms out, but we're not told that. He just came and amongst his disciples said, "Peace," or "Peace be with you." And that wholeness of healing would have descended on them by the power of the Holy Spirit, who is featured in many images, including our window over there as a dove, bringing the peace of Jesus Christ to us. And from then on, knowing the peace of Christ was vital for all of our lives to be able to live for him in the circumstances in which we live. So I've gone slightly from a children's talk to an adult talk there, but there we go. That's what we mean by peace. And we come to share the peace with one another today. You are welcome to do rubbing noses or hugging each other if you like, or to bless each other on the head. But just remember, as we share the peace, we are saying to our brothers and sisters, as Jesus said to us, "Peace be with you. Receive the wholeness and the healing of God."